morning and welcome. My name is Sussex Sandra and today I'm going to be doing an all-day wear test of the foundation I was wearing at the weekend in my one brand makeup, and it's the Sleek LifeProof foundation. I've got it in shade LP18, and when I wore it on Saturday I actually thought that it felt like a really good quality foundation. It felt as good as some of my favourite mattifying foundations. So the only way for me to really test that out is to wear the foundation for a few hours. So for those of you who don't know, I have got very oily skin. I have sort of hyperpigmentation, I have blemishes, I have blah 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 blah. I haven't got any texture, it's just the hyperpigmentation and the blemishes I have on my skin. So I always look for a foundation that gives me medium to full coverage and is oil controlling, shine controlling, that sort of thing. With this foundation, I think it cost £8.99. I bought it from Boots. It's also sold in Superdrug, but if you get it from Boots, I'm not quite sure about Superdrug, so forgive me if Superdrug are doing a similar offer. But if you buy it from Boots, they're doing a 3 for 2 for anything in the Sleek range. So, you know, you buy 3 items from the range and you get the third item, usually the cheapest one, free. So it's well worth checking out Boots and Superdrug to see what offers they've got. Good foundation, in my opinion. On Saturday, on my first impression, good foundation, and it's under 10 quid, so you can't really go too far wrong. But let me read to you the claims it makes about it. I'm going to read the back of it first. So it's obviously it's a liquid foundation. The foundation is called LifeProof foundation. And it says on the back of the tube here, it says, "LifeProof your look with this foundation that goes the distance. Soft focus powders create a blurring effect and help to reduce the appearance of fine lines. This oil-free formula can help skin look even and shine-free whilst imperfections are concealed. It says it's sweat-proof, oil-free, medium to full buildable coverage," and then it's got a list of all the ingredients on there. It contains 30 millilitres and 1 fluid ounce, so hopefully you can see that. Right, so let's crack on and do this, shall we? So first of all, we need to put on a primer. So I used the Sleek primer, and again I felt this primer was really good. I have been double priming recently, so I have done that already. So when I say double priming, instead of using a moisturizer, I've been using the Fenty Beauty primer. For me, this was very much like a moisturizer. Whether it had priming properties for me, I do not know, but I've been using it as a moisturizer because it is so light, and it has been kind of hydrating. So I've been using this, and then I put my main oil mattifying primer on. So this primer, let me just give you a little brief about this. It is, I can't remember how much it costs, but I'll put the price on the screen above. So it's called the Sleek Makeup Mattifying Primer, Soft Focus Finish, 20 millilitres, which is 0.67 fluid ounces. And it says on the back, this mattifying primer helps reduce oil for flawless looking matte skin. Soft focus powders provide a velvety finish and help blur the appearance of fine lines. Can be worn alone or under foundation. So let's put this on first. So there you go, it's a white product like that. So there's that. And you can see, I'm going to bring you in a bit closer. I must always remember to bring you in closer when I'm doing foundation. There you go. So you can see it is a little bit mattifying. I've really concentrated on these areas on my face, the upper part of my face, because that's where I tend to really break out in oil. With me, when I'm testing out a foundation, for me to know if it's a really good foundation for controlling oils, it needs to be able to control my oil for at least 4 hours. That's what I look for in a foundation that claims that it controls oils. If you can't do 4 hours, then it ain't no good. Alright, I'm telling you now. So I know how the foundation performed on Saturday when I put it on, but today I'm doing this for you so you know. Right, there's the lid, put that on. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of concealer on, so I'm just going to do a little bit of that, and then I'll put the foundation on. Just a little bit, just to cover up some of these areas here that tend to always poke through my foundation quite a bit. So I'll just do that quickly now. Okay, now for the foundation. Okay, so there you go. It's a squeezy tube. It can squirt out quite a bit, so be careful when you're squeezing it out. Okay, so that's one layer of the foundation on. Looking pretty good already. It's given, as it says, a medium to full coverage. Look closely. It is a perfect colour for me. It really is. I'm very pleased with the colour match. I'm going to put a little bit more on and then we'll call it a day, and then I'll give you the time of application. There you go. Coverage all done. So I'm happy with that coverage. It feels very light, it feels very comfortable, and it's definitely a buildable foundation, so you're not going to go too far wrong with that. Let me give you the time now. It's a bit late. Ooh. So it's already 5 to 11, so we're looking at least 4 hours. I want to wear this foundation for at least 4 hours just to see if it hits that 4-hour test for me. If I can, I'll try and get back to you by 4:30, 5 o'clock, so I at least wear it for about 5 hours if I can. 6 hours possibly. Okay, right, let me finish the rest of my face and then we'll call it a day, and I'll see you later. Right, good evening. I'm back and I'm here to give you my final thoughts of the foundation I was testing out today. So just to remind you, the foundation I was testing out today was the Sleek LifeProof foundation, and I was wearing the shade LP18. Okay, so I put the foundation on about 11 o'clock this morning. It was just before, but we'll call it 11 o'clock. And time now has come up to 5 o'clock, so I'll show you that. Hope you can see that correctly. It's coming up to 5 o'clock. So I've been wearing a foundation for just under 6 hours. Right, so when I do my foundation review, especially my wear test, I test it on a 5-system category which I've developed. I just made it up. And my system is called TOPS. So the T stands for transfer. So does the foundation transfer onto paper, onto clothing, that sort of thing. The O stands for oil control. So really, how quickly does the oil start to come through, and does it control the oil? I particularly test out foundations that promise oil control because I have got very oily skin, and I tend to just steer away from foundations that don't promise oil control. The first P stands for performance. So performance means to me whether the foundation, it fades, it melts, or it separates on my skin. So I'll be looking at those categories. The second P stands for price. So is the price, good value for what the foundation is and what it offers? Is it comparable to other products in its range, in how it performs? Basically, it's a comparator to other foundations that perform similar to that one. And finally, the S stands for shades. Is there a good shade selection? Does it cover a wide selection of shades? Could I find a shade that was suitable for me? What was the undertones like? So all of those things I tend to look under the shade selection. So without further ado, let's go through this. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at transfer and oil. I tend to do both of those together because I use blotting sheets. So these are my trusted blotting sheets here that seem to be just going on forever. I must say these are really good blotting sheets. I've got these from Amazon and they've just lasted forever. So with blotting sheets, the best performing foundations I've used in the past, they have used sort of 2 to 3 of these blotting sheets. If I see 2 and a bit of oil and foundation on there, I'm not too fussed, and I think that is going to be pretty good. If it's using sort of 5 of these sheets, then obviously it's a foundation I'm going to stay away from. It's not performing for those of us who have got oily skin. So let's do that, shall we? So this is the first sheet. Let's get my mirror. So sheet one, there wasn't any transfer on my forehead when I did that, but when I've come down to my side here, I've noticed there's a little bit of oil, and I know where I noticed it. It was on my nose. So I'm actually going to leave my nose on this section here because I want to show you something when I go through performance. So there you go, we've got oil and a little bit of transfer there. Okay, so that's sheet one. Sheet two. Right, you know what? There you go. That's sheet two. Again, a little bit of oil, hardly any foundation on that at all. And I think I'm going to call it a day on sheet two there, really. I can just see around my nose there. I'm just leaving this bit here because I want to show you that in a moment. So, looking at these two sheets, this is actually pretty good. I am not joking. If you look at some of my previous foundations that I've tested out, you'll see that this is pretty good. Yes, there's oil on there, but not much. It's not covering all of the sheets, and there's a little bit of foundation on there as well. So I mark out of 10. So for transfer, because there's hardly much, there wasn't much transfer there, but there was a little bit, I'm going to give this 8 out of 10. For oil control, for me, I'm going to give this quite a good score. And the reason why I'm going to give this a good score is, yes, that there was oil on my face, but it was only 2 sheets worth. Because, you know, I'm an oily skinned person. I'm always going to produce oil. That's a fact. I'm going to get oil. But the oil did not start to come through until about 3 o'clock. So it's come up to 5 o'clock now. So it was literally about 4 hours when I started to feel the oil, and I felt the oil coming through on my face. But once I've blotted, it looks alright now, doesn't it, now that I've blotted? So, you know, it's still a little bit shiny on my cheeks here, but look at that. So yeah, a little bit shiny on my cheeks and stuff, but the oil started to really come through on my usual areas, so my upper cheeks here, my nose, and up on my forehead. So for me, usually it's the upper half of my face that really gets oily, and it started to come through about 3 o'clock, and then it's really started to come through. So I reckon if I was wearing this foundation for another 2 hours, we'd really still see some oil coming through there. So for oil control, it's been pretty good, but I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10 because, you know, it's been pretty good performance. Now for performance, so I'm looking to see if the foundation melts, fades or separates. So I was working at home today, and one of the things that I look for to see is the foundation. I was wearing my spectacles. I like to see if the foundation separates and melts under the bridge of my spectacles, you know, the bit that the nose pads that rest there. And what I noticed when I was just doing the blotting sheets there is that on this side it was really just all yuck. It was all melting and separating. So I'm hoping you can see it on this side. I'm going to bring you in so you can see what I'm talking about there. Can you see that? How it's all starting to melt and collect there? And that's under the nose pads of the spectacles. I'm going to consider my mark when I'm looking at that. Now that I've blotted as well, I can see that it's been some fading along here. So when the oils start to come through, this is one of those foundation that starts to melt and separate. So that's pretty clear. So that's something to consider. So it has started to melt and separate again around my nose there. There's a little bit of fading up here on my forehead and on my upper cheeks. I mean, yes, I can still see my blush and my highlight, but the foundation definitely has started to fade along here around the perimeter of my face and around there. Okay, so considering that, I am going to say for performance, I am going to give this foundation a 7.5 because it's not bad. Not bad at all. So I'm just going to finish up blotting now because I really just wanted to show you the effect on my cheeks. Okay, there we go. So yes, this is my usual amount of sheets I would use on any foundation. 2 and a bit sheets, so that's all good. So for performance, I am going to give this a 7 out of 10 because there was definitely fading, melting and separating under here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10 because this was pretty bad. And some of the other foundations I've tested recently, they haven't done this around my nose. So I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10 because it's kind of yucky to look at. So there you go. All right. So it did melt, it did fade, and it definitely sort of separated and stuff under my nose pads. Right, the next P is price. So this foundation is £8.99 from Boots. Now, I think that is, one, it's under £10, so very affordable. It compares to other high street foundation products, but I say it performs better than some of the other ones. So I'm thinking about other high street foundations. So you've got things like the Max Factor one, which I've tried out recently. That was £15, and that hasn't performed as well as this, so consider that. Body Shop matte foundation, the clay matte foundation, that was £10, so it's a little bit more expensive than this. So and it compared similarly, I'd say, in performance to this, but this is cheaper. In the higher end foundations, we're looking at products like, I'm not going to go to right at the top end, I'm thinking about things like Estee Lauder Double Wear, they're about £30. Fenty Beauty, the Fenty Beauty foundation, it doesn't promise, or does it? I can't remember the Fenty Beauty promises oil control. It does promise long wear, which usually means performance control. This has performed better, in my opinion, than the Fenty Beauty. It looks better and it's performed better. So for those reasons, because that was a £26 foundation and this is only £8.99, I'm actually going to give this, and I think some of you may disagree with this, but because of the price and how it's performed compared to other high street foundations and some of the more higher end price foundations, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10 because I think it's been pretty good all round. It's not perfect, so I can't give it a 10, but I think I can definitely give it a 9 out of 10 because it has performed pretty well. And I think during a normal day, if I'm wearing this foundation and I start to break out in oil, I would be blotting, but because I'm doing a test, I haven't blotted or anything at all today. So I think this has performed pretty well. I hope you agree with me, but I'm sure if you don't agree, you'll let me know down below. And the last one is shade selection. Now, this foundation is a high street foundation and it comes out in 24 shades. Now, that is pretty good. So when I looked at the chart, I'll put the chart up again here so you can have a look. But when you look at the chart, there's a good selection of fair light shades. I'd say there's a good selection of medium. Again, I don't know what the colours actually look like without going into store, but my local store didn't have the full range of shades. They just tend to just focus on the light and medium shades. But there seemed to be, online, there seems to be a good range of shades there. And again, a good range of shades in the medium to dark, not just the token 2 colours for deep skin tones. There was a good range of colours. I was in LP18 and I think there was at least 4 to 5 more shades after my shade. So my shade was not the darkest shade, which is great because I would say I am not medium dark, I'm going towards the deep dark. So, you know, I'm not the darkest, but I'm going towards that range. So I think there being 4 to 5 shades deeper than mine, I think that is pretty fabulous actually. So for shade selection, for a high street brand, not your Hudas or your Fenties, but a high street brand, 24 shades is damn good. So I'm actually going to give this, considering, I'm going to give this 10 out of 10. Yes, I know I gave Fenty 10 out of 10 for the 40 shades, but that is a product that's just launched and you know, it's a higher price range. This is a cheap product, affordable product, and it's 24 shades, and I think a lot of people will be covered by this. And the other things as well, undertone. Again, with high street brands, they do tend to, when they're considered dark skin, they always go red in the undertone or they go yellow, but more likely they go very red. I picked out this shade online and I wasn't quite sure if it was going to be the right one, but I took a guess by the description and how it looks online. The online colour was very accurate in, because usually the colour prints aren't so great. It was very accurate and the undertone was perfect, neutral. You hardly ever get neutral undertone foundations on the high street. It just seems to be so hard to find neutral undertone foundations anywhere actually. So for me, this was a perfect colour. It looks really good, and I have to admit, this is going to be one of my favourite foundations. I can see me wearing this a lot, you know, just for everyday work. I can see me wearing this a lot. I'm going to be wearing it for the rest of this week, but I'm really impressed. So for shades, as I said, 10 out of 10. I like this foundation, in case you haven't noticed. If you haven't got this as yet, please go out, give it a go, try it. Obviously this video is not sponsored, I'm not getting anything for it, I don't get anything for anything, this is my own money buying these foundations. But I would recommend this foundation if you have got oily skin, normal combination skin. Don't know how it would perform if you've got dry skin, because I reckon if you've got dry skin or dry patches, this foundation will definitely cling to those areas. Hydrating primer, so that's something to consider. So you could probably put the hydrating primer on before putting this foundation on. Yeah, it looks like that's the best way to go about doing it. So definitely if you've got dry skin, you need to put on a hydrating primer and your moisturizer underneath. Otherwise you're going to find this foundation is going to cling to your dry areas. But foundation, I'm going to give this foundation a thumbs up. But let me know what you think. If you've tried it, let me know what you think. If you don't agree with what I've said about the foundation, let me know what you think. But please just remember to do it respectfully, okay? And I will see you soon. If you haven't subscribed to my channel as yet, please don't forget to subscribe down below. And if you press the little bell next to the subscribe button, that will notify you when I do my next upload. All right? Take care. Thank you very much for watching and joining us this evening. Take care. Bye.